American Academy of Forensic Sciences annual conferences is the largest meeting of the forensic science community, offering a professional environment for learning, collaboration, and networking. And AAFS TV is here covering every angle. Welcome back to our fourth and final day here in Denver. I'm Molly Hendrickson, and this is AAFS TV. Today we turn to trends in technology and the way tech can either help or hinder investigations. We sit down with incoming President Kip Thompson to hear more about how ethical AI is on the horizon.
Things that would have taken weeks or months may take minutes or hours.
Plus, an expert in digital forensics, Marcus Rogers, explains why this type of evidence is still not accessible to all. And we book a trip to Buffalo to introduce you to a lab working hard at eradicating deepfakes and digital forgeries. We've got a lot in store for our final day and want to make sure you can catch it all. You can find the latest AAFS TV episodes on the TVs placed throughout the convention center, on Channel 66 in your room at the Hyatt Regency, on the AAFS meeting homepage and the meeting app, and on our YouTube and X pages. In our increasingly connected society, it's hard to imagine cases where digital evidence would not be important. Yet the availability of forensic science is still not equitable for defendants, specifically access to digital forensics expertise. Marcus Rogers is here now in studio to discuss what he calls a broken model. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's go back. It's been 15 years since that report highlighted some of those inequities when it comes to digital forensic evidence. Has anything changed since then?
Unfortunately, not much. And in fact, that the gap between the disparities probably increased simply because technology changes so rapidly. There's technology today that we didn't have back then. And the personal use of technology has just exploded. I can't think of anybody that doesn't have a digital device, a watch or a smartphone. It's not necessarily a computer anymore, but you have a piece of, you have a digital device on you that's collecting evidence all the time. And because of that, there are basically not one investigation that I can think of where digital evidence wouldn't be important, yet the availability to the experts and the cost for experts in software and hardware has increased, and that's really made the gap widen.
And what would you say are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to the use of digital evidence? Some
of the biggest challenges are the sheer volume. There's just so much information out there, or at least potential information, and you have to figure out what's valid and what isn't, or what's relevant and what isn't, and where that information, where that data is. You've heard of, the cloud and the Internet of Things and smart devices. Those devices don't store the information on them usually. That information is in the cloud, and that cloud can be anywhere in the world. So the problem is, where is this information? And once you identify it, do you have the legal authority to collect that information? In some cases, you don't.
Our focus today is on trends in technology. What can you tell us that you're noticing in the digital forensic science area?
Probably the biggest two trends, and they kind of go together, are automation, and then you can't talk about technology without talking about AI and machine learning. With the automation, there's just so much to do that a human doesn't have time to do all the steps that we used to do. So the software is available, what it does is it automates some of those mundane tasks, does it very quickly, hopefully does it very accurately and very precise. And then the other part is there's just so much information, it overwhelms a human to try and figure out what's relevant. We can't look at everything. So the machine learning and AI right now is triaging that information, getting it down to the information it thinks is relevant, and then the human analyst or the investigator makes the final decision about what that information or what that data means. Is it really evidence, and what is the context of that?
One of the great benefits of becoming a member of AAFS is the year-round educational opportunities. Can you tell us a little bit about what those are?
Yeah, there's a couple. One is obviously the journal. The journal, the JFS, is very important. There's lots of cutting-edge research, especially when it comes to technology, is in there, and that's available at reduced cost or free to some of the members. The other is the webinars and the seminars and the online training and education that we can now get through the Academy. When I first started, we didn't have that, and it's brilliant. So now, in between these annual meetings where we're having this fabulous scientific presentations, we have access to some of the same presentations that were here that we didn't have a chance to see, and new information in between the meetings.
And that's through, part of it is through AAFS Connect.
That's correct. And that was, that's been the past couple of years. And part of that was really looking at how do we digitize the content. We have a different membership than we had when I first started. The younger generation of forensic scientists are used to learning online. They're used to going to webinars and seeing panels that are on Zoom. So what the Academy wanted to do is take some of that information that we've had here, put it online, and offer our membership the opportunity to have some of these more webinars and these training and educational opportunities in the media that they are very used to, and that's online. And it's really taken off.
Marks Rogers, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us
Well,
today.
thank you very much.
Equally as important as access to digital forensics is the ability to spot the fakes. The issue of digital forgeries and the challenges it presents for the world is reflected in the University of Buffalo's commitment to the Media Forensics Lab. As the problem of deepfakes grows, so will the solutions the lab provides.
An unprecedented new threat has the potential to impact our privacy, our national security, and the integrity of the democratic process.
Deepfakes can be used for defamation, discreditation of certain individuals. If we slow down, pause, and say, is this real? And then start to do cross-validation, fact-checking, then many of the deepfakes can be easily debunked.
We supported hiring some students and scientists and gave them funds for setting up a mini lab within the overall forensics lab where they could receive images and media from various sources and they could provide authentication with some confidence.
We always welcome discussion with stakeholders, people working in the trench, fighting disinformation and deepfakes.
The Forensic Sciences Foundation is the educational, scientific, and research arm of the Academy. Tanisha Henson, chair of the foundation, is here now with more on the numerous ways the foundation is working for you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
So for those unfamiliar, can you start out by explaining what the foundation is and also its mission?
As you had indicated, it is the forensic science research arm of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences. The mission is in line with the Academy overall, so it is to promote justice for all through forensic science by providing extraordinary opportunities in education, research, and in funding.
So what are some of the different ways you study the application of science to the resolution of social and legal issues?
So many people don't realize the application of forensic science to pretty much everything. So it's using forensic engineering. So building collapses or bridge collapses and taking those structural things and how they may have failed. You have criminal attorneys, prosecutors or defense attorneys, death investigators, the people who actually go out to the scenes, and they are separate from crime scene investigators. And we'll use that both in a forensic or criminal application and the forensic civil application as well in the event that somebody does survive and they need to maybe do a reconstruction for an accident of, say, a pedestrian walking in a crosswalk and being struck by a motor vehicle.
So you gave several examples of real life scenarios where all of this applies. You also aim to educate the general public. Yes. Why is that?
The goal is really to educate as to what forensic science really does, the time constraints, sometimes the budget constraints. I was actually just watching an old episode of Bones last night, and they have this big shiny platform and are able to do all of this real-time, almost instantaneous discovery. But unfortunately, that's just not reality. Sometimes it can take several weeks for DNA results to come back to positively identify a loved one. Fingerprints aren't always in databases. So you're not going to necessarily be able to get a fingerprint and go, oh, this is what John Smith looks like, and he is currently at this address right now. So we want to be able to try to educate the public as to what those realities are, but also to try to generate interest in the field of forensics because there are so many wonderful applications of it. And we want to make sure that people know that there's not just one avenue for that.
And also kind of be realistic that crimes can't be solved in a day.
Crimes
like on
cannot.
TV.
Yes, it's not going to be done in 48 minutes. There are going to be unfortunate sights and smells and residual things that you're definitely not going to get from TV. There's no smell-o-vision with the TV.
Thank God.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of the grants and scholarships offered through the foundation and who might be a good candidate for those?
Absolutely. So we have eight wonderful opportunities that are available, and I've got a little list because, like I said, there's 8. So we have the Emerging Forensic Scientist Award, the Young Forensic Sciences Scholarship, the Warren Young, and that one is a little different from the other ones, and I'll come back to that. We have the Field and Lucas grants, we have the Bashinsky grant, the Student Affiliate, the Student Travel, and then the Henry Lee. The Warren Young is slightly different from the other 7 that I mentioned in that one is aimed for middle school and high school teachers who want to teach forensic science in their classroom. For the others, it's available for students who are brand new into college and wanting to come into this wonderful field of forensics, all the way up to people who are working on their thesis and research grants. And it gives them an opportunity to help fund these very expensive research and grants, and also to be able to travel internationally to some of the meetings that we have abroad.
Tons of opportunities out there for a variety of people.
Yes.
Tanisha, thank you for stopping by today.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
Our next guest in studio is preparing to take the helm of the American Academy of Forensic Science. Dr. Christopher Kip Thompson is a nationally renowned forensic psychiatrist and will be serving as president of AAFS next year. He's here now with a preview of his upcoming term. So congratulations on this exciting new role.
Thank you very much, Molly.
So first off, as you look ahead, you've already identified the inclusion of ethical AI into the forensic science community as a top priority. Why do you feel that this is so important?
I think very frequently, perhaps almost always, we tend to implement new technologies before we've had the time to sufficiently vet them, study them, decide what the downsides are. And I think that with the forensic sciences, it's very important that we not do that. We're dealing with very important issues in the legal context. On the civil side, there are frequently very large sums of money at stake, and on the criminal side, obviously, even more importantly, there are people's liberty at stake. So I think we need to take care to make sure that we implement these technologies carefully and thoughtfully and carefully consider the downsides.
Why do you see technology, or how do you see technology assisting in the gathering and processing of forensic data?
I think that the primary mode by which that will happen is just the ability to analyze huge amounts of data very quickly. That things that would have taken weeks or months may take minutes or hours. And the other thing that I think is very important is that different data systems are interconnected and also instantaneously updatable. So you'll be able to, for example, compare a data set that you have here to an existing data set that maybe bona fide child abuse claims. You compare your photos that you took in your exam against those, and it'll be instantaneously available.
Obviously, AI is raising a lot of concerns as well. What do you see some of the ethical concerns are of using AI?
I think the 2 primary concerns I have from a forensic science perspective would be privacy concerns of individuals in society writ large, and then also potentially of criminal defendants or other people involved in litigation. And then the possibility of errors based on erroneous inputs or erroneous algorithms. The algorithms are only good as the data on which they're based or the assumptions that they're based. And then there's also potentially concerns, an ancillary concern about plagiarism and authorship in the forensic science community.
How do you see some of the ways that machine learning is already proving beneficial to the field?
I think that you are seeing that analysis of huge amounts of data going fairly quickly and fairly efficiently. That's working in for the most part, I think in the field of jurisprudence, although there have been some high-profile mistakes there, and in psychiatry and behavioral sciences, but again, with some mistakes, I think forensic genealogy is probably, for the most part, a success story as far as catching serial killers and other cold cases, although there are certainly privacy concerns in that area as well.
Dr. Thompson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Molly. It was a pleasure.
Well-trained forensic specialists are integral to ensuring justice across the United States. However, in the country's rural states and locations, this training can be hard to come by. The National Center on Forensics creates training opportunities for medical students and medical examiners, as well as for the legal and justice communities in the nation's underserved areas that need it most.
Forensics training is most needed in the United States in rural locations. So we need more training in order to get more people into rural settings.
The National Center on Forensics mission is to provide medical legal learning opportunities for medical examiners in underserved rural areas and provide forensic science training to the legal and justice community as well as law enforcement officers.
We've reached out to all the Attorney General's offices and the state and local prosecutors' offices around the country to find out what specifically their needs are. So we have done our due diligence to try to find out what the state and locals want.
Hopefully, the NCF will have a positive impact on the application of justice throughout the United States.
When we think of the future of forensic science, it's in the hands of our young researchers and scientists. One of those is Vienna Lamb, whose research into aquatic decomposition has also made her a Forensic Science Foundation grant recipient. Let's learn more about her research.
Aquatic deaths are particularly difficult to investigate because your body's moving. We're working with very hydrodynamic environments, and depending on what environment the body's in, it's going to decompose at different rates, and different things are going to happen to the body that's going to almost mimic injuries that happen before death. Yet, despite all of these difficulties and challenges with a moving body, with all of these variables that you have to deal with, it's ultimately our job to investigate the death. And so at Simon Fraser University, my role is to support these efforts by doing research in two key areas. The first one is in looking at how human bodies decompose in different aquatic environments. And then the second one is in applying and using GIS and geospatial tools to actually find the bodies faster. So to detect the bodies, to recover them, and ultimately to try to prevent future deaths. And so part of what I do is I've been collecting data from every corner medical examiner office across Canada, collating that information with Life Saving Society. And then what I've also done is pulled every single cell phone tower and all the information from these towers across Canada and put them together in a spatial way so that we can actually identify which areas are the hardest hit when it comes to drowning, and how we can actually try to create infrastructure that can mitigate those deaths. When we talk about the theme of justice for all, well, you can't have justice for all if you're not creating equitable access to educational tools and to this kind of water safety training or safety services. I'm so very thankful for the American Academy of Forensic Sciences and the Forensic Science Foundation for giving me an award so that I could present my research at the International Academy of Forensic Sciences. And this just happened last December in Australia, in Sydney. This was so I could present my research on human body decomposition with the wider forensic science community. So this is a big effort so that we can actually mobilize the knowledge and the things that we have found through my different research projects. I think the future of forensic sciences is inspiring. I think that one of the greatest strengths of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences is in the diversity of perspectives here. And that's not just to do with race or age or where they're from, but a lot of it has to do with even their professional background. When you're able to present some of your work and immediately get feedback from people from a very different field with expertise in other areas, you're going to be able to do better work. And I think that with the developments in AI tools and machine learning, and even in how we can develop better infrastructure for how we store our data, I think there's going to be a lot more collaborations moving into the future because it's going to be easier. So I'm hopeful.
Edmonds College is a leader in cyber defense and digital forensics, offering students education, training, and opportunities not available elsewhere. Edmonds' curriculum is taught by well-respected industry experts, and now they have a cybersecurity specialist certificate program available entirely online.
When you look at the future of cybersecurity, criminals are becoming more skilled and they're more effective with the types of attacks that they can go ahead and engage in.
The program's really known for digital forensics. The specialties they've really developed here, not only in the knowledge, but the curriculum. They bring in industry experts, and you're really in this community of people who want to teach students and share the information.
The instructors in the program actually work in industry, so it's not just going into the classroom to lecture out of a textbook. We're drawing from real-life scenarios, real-life cases, and that helps the students to understand how things are really going to work out there when they start to get employed in the field.
When I graduated the program, I was able to find jobs out there that required a lot of experience with like tools and hardware and so forth. And I was able to, answer any questions that they had because I already had the experience of, working with those tools.
There are a lot of really good schools and there are other good programs, but in this niche field, I just don't see the quality of applicants as I do coming out of Edmonds College.
As we bring this wonderful week to a close, that means it's time to look ahead to 2025. And Karen Rosenbaum is already hard at work planning for our next gathering. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Molly, for having me.
So let's start with your background. Tell me what your background is.
So I am a forensic psychiatrist, which means that I am a psychiatrist that did a specialty in forensic psychiatry, which means that it's the intersection between the law and psychiatry. So anytime there's a legal question for a psychiatrist, I might be asked to opine. So in civil cases, that might be emotional damages. In criminal cases, that might be state of mind at the time of the crime. And I have been chair of my section in AAFS of behavioral sciences, psychiatry and behavioral sciences section. And I, right now, am going to be back on the board of directors and incoming program chair.
So, okay, next year, tell me, what city are we going to, and what are you most looking forward to about that city?
Okay, well, I'm based in New York, so I'm excited that I only have to take a 3-hour train ride to Baltimore. So Baltimore is a very underrated city. I've been there many times. My brother studied there in college, and it's really nice. Like, has a waterfront. The Oriole Stadium is amazing. They have one of the best aquariums in the country, little known fact. And it's got a good cultural mix because it's a northern, southern city, I would say. So you can get your Maryland crab cakes, but you're also, in the north and have a lot of different cultural backgrounds together.
Yeah, that waterfront area is really pretty.
It's so pretty there, yes.
As we look back over the last week, what do you see as a big success? What will you highlight at your meeting?
I really loved the keynote speaker and the plenary session at this meeting. It really highlighted the theme of this meeting, which was justice for all. Brian Stevenson, I actually helped bring him in because I had him at another meeting, our forensic psychiatry meeting last October, and I knew him to be an amazing speaker. And the President, Ken Williams, of this year really, really wanted him. So that was a treat, and I would want to bring somebody in for next year that would highlight the meeting that we're trying to put together, which is technology, a tool for transformation or tyranny.
And speaking of technology, with science and technology changing so quickly, how hard is it to plan a meeting for next year, a conference for a year out?
That's a really good question, since that's exactly what we're dealing with, and will be part of what we have to talk about, is how quickly artificial intelligence is changing and why it's something that we have to deal with in our everyday lives as well as in forensic sciences.
Do you incorporate a member feedback into the programming?
That, yes, at the end of every program or every meeting, there's a chance for people to rate the different programs that we had in context with the CME or the continuing education that people obtain at this meeting. So we use that feedback to see what we can do better next year.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much, Molly.
Finally today, we hit the exhibit hall to see all the new trends in technology, equipment, and research being unveiled by exhibitors this year. Let's go. You guys, we're here at the AAFS exhibit hall, and there is so much cool stuff to see. Let's go. Okay. Do you have any more of these Instapockets?
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
Ooh, that's shocking. Thanks for keeping my coffee warm. What did I tickle your funny bone? Looks like I killed another one. Ah. Okay. Nice nap. Nothing to see here, nothing to see.
We found the culprit.
That's perfect.
The AAFS exhibit hall never disappoints. And with that, it's a wrap on AAFS TV 2024. Thanks for sharing your time with us this week, and we hope you enjoyed all the specially curated content, interviews, and segments. We may be wrapping up, but our content always lives on. You can always find all the episodes from this week, as well as the individual interview and segment clips, on our YouTube and X pages. Thanks for spending time with us here in Denver. We hope to be back with you in Baltimore for next year's meeting. Safe travels, everyone.